Hi, I'm Greg Zorian, third generation master barber. Today we're going to be doing a textured look, a nice spiky textured look with a low taper, and we're going to fade the back out and we're going to cut it in a little bit off the natural hairline, something a little unique to this model's haircut, which he really likes. He's got really thick hair, so what I'm going to demonstrate today is he doesn't need a lot of length taken off, but he likes a lot of texture and messing it up with the cream, so I'm going to show you how to do a complete haircut with thinning shears from the occipital bone up. We're going to do a low taper with the clippers, but everything else is going to be done all thinning shears, texture and length, which is a really good technique for this type of hair. So to start out, what I'm going to do is lightly dampen the hair, and we're going to do the fade first, and then we're going to work on the top because we want to have a really nice graduated look. So we're going to start from close, just like a half a finger to a finger's width, and really graduate it up. So I just want to dampen it down a little bit. We're going to start with a detachable blade clipper and a 3.5 blade. The 3.5 blade cuts it to 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to turn my clipper on. You always want to make sure your clipper's on when you snap your blade shut because you don't want to jeopardize breaking this tongue off. So again, we're going to turn the clipper on and we're going to snap the blade shut. And very low, so I'm not going to come up this way. I'm going to come from back to front and angle the blade a little bit. So that way, because if I put the blade on there, we're already too high. Because if you remember, I said we're doing like a finger's width. So that's more than the finger's width. That's more like 3 fingers width. So we have to angle the clipper. And keep it really low and just roll that out into the temple area. So what that does, you can see where it's nice and close just around the edge there, and that gives me another finger width to blend, and then that's going to leave the shape on top, which is really going to make that low fade is really going to make that top really stand out. So I'm going to do the same thing in the back. I'm coming from the bottom up. I'm going to bend his head to the side a little bit. So we're keeping that really low. And then we're going to just taper the bottom, and we're going to give him a nice sharp line there, and bring it in just a little bit off the natural hairline. So it's all in the wrist, and the slower you go, the less blending you have to do, because a detachable metal blade clipper will cut as you pull away from the head. So on the opposite side, we're doing the same thing. I'm just using the first 3 or 4 teeth there as I come around. And then in the front, just like I said, we're just going to kind of roll that blade out just a little bit in the front and leave it below the temple. So now that we have that, I'm going to switch to a 1.5 blade. That cuts and blends at the same time. So we're going to further work on our taper around the edges, and we're going to blend in the next finger with this length to his top length. So before I do that, I want to brush off the clipper, get all the hair off the clipper and that blade. So now I'm grabbing my 1.5 blade. We're going to turn the clipper on. I still have the same clipper comb I'm using. And I'm going to hold it with this grip so I can just flip it in my hand instead of holding it like this and my shoulder being at an awkward angle. And we're going to start the blend. So I'm going to angle the comb, and I'm pulling the heel of the blade away from the comb. So that's going to cut and blend at the same time. And it's going to keep me from going up too high. So instead of taking the comb and working it up, I'm going to hold the comb in the same spot and just angle it. Because I want to leave all that length on top. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the 1.5 blade that I did with the 3.5. We're going to really hold that ear down, take those 3 or 4 teeth, and just use a really low scooping motion. And then in front of the ear, we're going to blend that into the beard. So now we got a nice natural blend there. That's what we're looking for. We want to keep it really natural looking. I'm going to bend his head to the side just a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. And to follow the contour of how we're going to cut in off the natural hairline a little bit, I'm leaving this part of the taper low. So I'm really dropping it down so it balances with the haircut. Okay, so now as I blend that out, so what I'm doing is I'm just using the tip of the teeth and I'm really angling the comb out about that much, extreme angle. I want to leave all that length because that's where we're going to create a lot of texture. And it's really going to kind of puff this out a little bit when we mess it up with the cream. And then at the bottom here, we want to start working out that fade. See, he's got a little bit of tail there. We want to fade that out. And as you're coming across the back, you can either keep the comb horizontal, you can keep it diagonal, or you can keep it vertical, whatever's more comfortable. But the main thing is the angle that I have is out this way. So we're not, again, we're not cutting into this area here when we're dealing with more of a graduated shape like this. So I'm coming again on that diagonal. And he's got a really nice thick hairline to work with, so that's always makes your taper look a lot better when you're working on someone with a nice thick hairline. And then we're going to work our way around the other side and just finish off that bevel. Now the sides, you always have to remember, are not as thick as the back, so I had to be a little bit more aggressive in the back. With the taper, the sides, not so much. The sides, just a couple passes across is going to blend it in. And then down low here, we want to blend that into the beard a little bit more. And that's going to do it for our detachable blade clipper. But before I put it down, I want to make sure I clean it off. Always want to make sure all my tools are clean when I put them down and put them away, so when I pick them up for the next client, they're clean. Now when I pull the ear down like that, you can see the hair pop out. So we're just going to take the bottom 2 or 3 teeth of this adjustable clipper, and that's going to grab those few hairs. We don't want to go too high because we don't want a big arcing white wall either. So then I'm going to work the taper around the outline, slightly around the corner, and fade out the tail at the bottom. We don't want it too high, but we just want to fade it out a little bit. So right now I'm in the open position. It's the longest setting for the adjustable clipper. Then I'm going to close it halfway down. Then I'm going to close it all the way down. And then we're going to be done with our taper. So now when we come back with our trimmer, we don't have to go anywhere near it and take a chance and messing up that nice hairline or low natural hairline that we just created. Now on the other side, we're going to further fade that out. And with your adjustable clipper, if you have to, if you see a heavy spot, you can do some clipper over comb. Now we're going to pull that ear down, and he has even more hair on this side. You see that hair pop right out there. So we want to fade that right out, then close the clipper down. Okay, now that does it for our adjustable clipper. So you can see that, you know, we did so much work with our detachable blade clipper. When we go to our adjustable, it's not that difficult because we took a lot of the hair off, and we did a really good job the first time around, so it makes each step afterwards that much easier. So I'm going to grab my finishing comb, and we're going to pull that ear down to make sure there's no hair sticking out. So there's just a few, mostly in front of the ear. I want to check inside the ear, so I'm just going to push on that little button there, and it pops the ear out. So you can get in there and get the hair out of the ear. So now I want to bend his head to the side so it gives us a nice wide plane here, a nice flat plane. It stretches out that muscle. So now we can very lightly make our line. As I said, we're going to go in just a little bit off the natural hairline, and at the bottom just round it a touch. So we make our line and we shave to it. I never drag down with a trimmer. If you drag down with a trimmer, you're in danger of scraping the skin or irritating the skin, because the cutting blade is so close to the stationary blade. If you press hard, that cutting blade is going to come in contact with the skin. So again, we want to make sure we get right down to the t-shirt line and get all that fuzz off the neck, all that hair off the neck. You don't want to have your customer get a haircut and then have hair sticking out over their collar or their t-shirt. So we're going to clean all that up, and as I said, we're staying away from the taper. We don't need to get too close to it because we don't want to mess it up. Now on the other side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make our line and slightly round it towards the bottom. We're just lightly touching the skin. It's a sharp clipper. We don't have to press hard, and then we're going to shave to it. And then at the bottom, just round it in slightly. And I just want to make sure the other side is the same. Yep, we got it. Now we're going to check the back of the ear, make sure there aren't any long pieces here. Again, we don't want that big line around the ear, so we're not going to take the clipper and draw a line around the ear. I just want to pull it down, take the back few teeth of the clipper, and grab any long ones so it looks natural. Okay, now I want to brush them off, double check my work, make sure I keep them clean here. So it's okay in the middle of the haircut if you see some hair going down the shirt. which I do, I want to make sure that I'm cleaning that off, and then I'm going to redrape them. And then also for you as the barber or hairstylist, you know, the cleaner you keep your client, the easier it is to see what you need to cut, you know, how your haircut's looking and what you need to do. Okay, now we're going to, since it's kind of dried out a little bit, we're going to redampen it again a little more, and we're going to work on the sides and back and the top. I don't want it too wet, but his hair is very coarse. So we need to dampen it down. So I'm going to start in the back, and I'm going to work in the back center to the right and to the left before I work on the top. So as I said before, we're going to take some thickness out and maybe a little bit of length, but there's a lot of thickness there. So when you're using a thinning shear, the faster you move the comb, the less hair you're going to take. The slower you move the comb, the more hair you're going to take. When you're using a thinning shear, you can close it halfway, you can close it all the way. What I like to do is this particular thinning shear, I like to close halfway. I feel it gives more texture and it doesn't make the hair too stringy. So that's what I would rather do. So I'm going to move the comb at a moderate speed because his hair is so thick, and I'm going to close the scissor halfway. And then I'm going to follow that to the right, and then we're going to do it to the left. So just like with the clipper work, his hair is thicker in the back. So as I get to the sides, I'm going to start moving the comb faster because I don't want to take as much hair out of the sides as the back, because just the way it is, it's not as thick as the back. It doesn't need as much taken out to get the same textured look. So now you can see I'm speeding up the comb. Now we're going to do the same thing in the opposite direction. And then when I get to the top, I just ever so slightly round it in just a little bit. But this is the thickest part, right on the occipital bone, from behind the one ear to the other ear. So that's where we're taking quite a bit more out. And then on the sides, as I said, we're going to move the comb faster because we don't want to take as much. All right, now you can pretty much see his hair grows from front to back. So I'm going to stand behind him, and we're going to do the same thing on the top. The top is not as thick as in the back, so I'm going to move the comb faster, and I'm going to close the scissor about a quarter of the way this time. So that's going to take less, moving the comb faster and closing the scissor a quarter of the way. Now you'll get this experience. The more that you do, you'll get the experience down, you'll get a feel for it, and you'll just automatically know how far to close the scissor and how fast to move the comb. It just comes with experience. And then I'm doing even less on this side. So when I bend his head down just a little, you can see that's where his part is. So wherever there's a part, the hair is going to be a little thinner in that part, and it's going to stick straight up if you take too much out. So I don't want his hair, when he styles it, to look like this, because this is popping up because we took so much weight out of it, and it's heavier on this side. So a lot of times when you're giving somebody a haircut, it's not a matter of, they're not necessarily paying for how much hair you're taking off, they're paying for the finished look. So never feel like you're cheating somebody if you're not taking a lot of hair off. So even though we're completely changing his look, it didn't consist of taking a lot of hair off. And before we do any styling, I see a little more hair in one ear. And then the other thing we have to check is eyebrows. Do you like your eyebrows trimmed?
A little bit.
Okay. Okay, so he said a little bit on his eyebrows, so then I'm going to take a thick comb instead of a thin comb. So he said a little bit, so this way we only take a little bit. He's got just a couple long ones sticking out, so we're not going to trim them right down. We're just going to take those few long ones. Now, in terms of styling, there's a lot of different ways we can go about it. Wet look, dry look, strong hold, light hold. What this gentleman likes is a medium hold, medium shine, and something that he can reshape during the day. So what we're going to use for that is a grooming cream. So this is my product line, Zorian of New York. We're going to use our grooming cream. All of our products are infused with all natural ingredients. Our grooming cream especially, it has a very light moldable texture, and it rinses out really easy. It's water soluble. It's not greasy at all. As soon as the water hits your hair, it will rinse out. It also has coconut oil in it, which is very good for this type of hair, which is very thick and very coarse. So the difference between the cream versus, say, a paste is a paste you really can't run your hands through or recomb throughout the day like you can a cream. It doesn't harden up and set, or a pomade is wet and it's going to harden up like a gel would. So the cream is our most versatile and our most popular product. So, but again, with that being said, for the type of style he wants, and he wants to have that hold all day, we're going to have to use a little bit more. So I'm going to take a good amount, so a little bit more than a knuckle size. We're going to emulsify it in our hands. And one of the other nice benefits of this cream, it has a really light and natural smell, clean smell, so it's not going to interfere with any colognes or deodorants or body sprays or anything like that. And then you just work it till you get the shape that you want. And as I said before, the reason why, and you'll see when I spin them around, we didn't want to go too high, is because we needed the length in here, so we had some hair to work with when we were styling it. Okay, so now we're going to spin them around, and you're going to see the graduation, what that nice taper around the edges, how that really makes the rest of the hairstyle stand out. So we tapered it in, we came in off the natural hairline a little bit, rounded the corners. Okay, so there we have it. We have a bunch of different things that we did today. We did a low taper. We did a little more modern type hairline where we cut in a little bit off the natural hairline but still tapered out the bottom. Didn't cut up way high off his natural hairline. We showed you some graduation and how to do a complete texture and layer cut with just a thinning shear. So I'd like to thank you for watching our video today and hope you enjoyed it.